Hey everyone, welcome to the channel. My name is Ben. I'm a meditation and spiritual teacher, and in today's video I'm going to be explaining how you can meditate less but experience more. Often people assume that you need to be meditating for hours on end. You need to be meditating 2-3 times a day to be really getting depth within the meditation, to be really opening yourself up to more experiences. And whilst that does and can help in some instances, unless it's coupled with this one attribute, this one state of mind, then it's not going to lead you anywhere. It's actually a bit of a waste of time. You need to be going in to your meditations with this one attribute that I'm going to talk about today, and that is intensity. So if you're new to my channel, I got introduced to meditation when I was about 6 years old. My dad was a meditation teacher. I was taught by him and then also another teacher who was a divine master. So I've been surrounded by this stuff my entire life, and I've been teaching now for about 5 years. So I've come across lots of different approaches to meditation and seen lots of different people's entry points, I guess you could call it, to meditation. So I've got a good insight now into what really helps people to go deep. And obviously I've coupled this with my own experience. So this, I'm certain, will help you in your meditations if you kind of are open to this and take it on board. If you're interested in learning more about meditation, I do have an online school. It's called the Inner Journey School, where we have live sessions and all sorts of things going on throughout the week. I'll put a link to that in the description. So intensity is the key part of meditation, and I'll explain how this really makes such a big impact. So if you imagine that there are 3 people here, and each of these 3 people meditate for 10 units of time. So let's put time up here, and let's put intensity here. By the way, I'll explain how you can improve your intensity as well in a moment. And let's put depth here. And this isn't an exact science, obviously, but this is just a way of detailing and explaining to you how this can really help. So if, let's say, they all put in the same amount of time, they all put in 10 units of time, but person 1 puts in, let's say, 2 units of intensity. Person 2 puts in 4 units of intensity. Person 3 puts in 9 units of intensity. Well, person 1 is gaining 20 units of depth. Person 2 is gaining 40 units of depth. Person 3 is gaining 90 units of depth. And the force multiplier here, so the thing that is actually changing the outcome of the meditation, is the intensity, and that's the force multiplier. That's the thing that really makes the difference in terms of going somewhere in the meditation or experiencing more depth, whatever the experience may be for you. Although we're not striving for experiences, the actual depth is important, and the force multiplier, as I keep mentioning, is the intensity. And when I say intensity, I really mean the degree of your concentration. So if you're going into the meditations and it's becoming very habitual, it's a bit of a box ticking exercise, you're just doing it to sort of pass the time, you're doing it to reach that 30-minute point or that 60-minute point, but actually the quality of that time isn't that great. So the intensity is almost another way of saying the quality of your meditation. Then the outcome is not going to be as great either. And the outcome that we want is a greater level of depth within the meditation, strengthening of this concentration, more focus, and all of that. So the force multiplier, as I say, is the intensity. And you can see here that person 1 has put in the exact same amount of time, but has almost 5x'd the level of depth within their practice, because they are going in with more intensity. I've said that the wrong way around, but you know what I mean. Person 3 has gone in with 9 times more and is 5x'd. So the key part is intensity. Now, what improves intensity? So what improves intensity? Also, before I get to that bit, actually, there's one other interesting thing to look at here, which is that if this person puts in 5 units of time, so half the time of the other people, but actually puts in 4 units of intensity, they get the same outcome. So it's not necessarily important how long you meditate for, as much as it is about the intensity of the meditation. So what improves intensity? You probably think, well, that's great. Everyone wants an intense, deep meditation, but what improves your intensity in the meditation? So I'll give you a few things here that will really help. The first thing is sleep. We're using the body, we're using the mind to meditate, and sleep is something that affects those things. So if we're not getting enough sleep, sleep will impact the meditation. And it's a tricky one, because often people will get up at, before work and do their meditation. And this is something that you have to reason with yourself as to whether your body needs sleep or whether it is okay for you to get up and meditate. Because some people think that it is a trick of the mind or a trick of the ego, or that they're being lazy if they don't get up in the morning at 5 a.m. and do their meditation. But actually, if you are getting up at 5 a.m. and you've not had enough sleep and your mind and body are affected, the chances of you going in with the right intensity and getting the right outcome is going to be a hell of a lot less. So you've always got a reason as to whether something is actually, is it better for the body? Is it better for me to do the meditation? Is it my ego that's trying to throw me off track now? Am I being lazy? These are things that you have to decide. And through your own experience, you will understand a bit more as to how much sleep you need, when you do genuinely feel tired, or whether it is a trick of the mind trying to get you to not meditate that day. These are all things that you can work out about yourself in time, but sleep makes a big difference. Diet. Are you eating lots of sugary foods? Are you eating processed foods? And some people even say, and I would probably agree, are you eating meat? These things here are heavy, hard to digest. Not necessarily the sugars, but the meat, harder to digest. Not brilliant for the body. So these things impact the meditation. We're using this vehicle, the mind and body vehicle, to do the meditation in, and having the right diet, eating foods that are kind of keeping you in this more balanced state, this equanimous state. You don't want things that are going to be really lifting you up, throwing you off track. So the food that you eat makes a big, big difference. The other thing to take into account is what you consume through the senses. So we don't just consume in what we eat. We consume both ways. It's supposed to be a C. But we consume not just through what we eat, but what we watch, what we listen to, what we touch, what we interact with. Everything that we do through the senses, we are consuming. And all of that has a big impact on the level of depth which we're able to reach, and more specifically, the intensity of our meditations. So these are just a couple of things that you need to really be aware of. The other thing that also makes a big difference is social time. Social media time, that is. This is something that I've really noticed in myself, is if I have days where I'm really working a lot and I spend a lot of time in front of a screen, that impacts me. That impacts my brain, that impacts my body, and ultimately that impacts the level of intensity that I'm able to go into the meditations with. And finally, thoughts. Now, often people will start meditation because they want to reduce the amount of overthinking that's going on in the day. And to some extent, it will help. But actually, kind of controversially, you actually need to start reducing your thinking in the day to then impact the meditation experience, which will then impact, again, the amount of thoughts that you're having through the day. It is a bit of a loop of kind of thoughts and meditation. They do impact one another. So the amount of thoughts you have, that impacts the intensity of your meditation, and often then the depth. And the depth that you attain within the meditation does have a good positive impact on your thoughts. So these things need to be worked concurrently. And how do you work thought? How do you improve your kind of overthinking that you may do throughout the day? Well, you can do things like replacing that time with mantra. and just generally being more conscious, more aware of where your thoughts are in any one moment. And that, of course, will improve naturally when you meditate through the process of practicing meditation. So I hope this video helps you today. I could go into more depth, and I will go into more depth if you want me to, if this is an interesting topic. But the crux of this video is really that to not focus so much on the amount of time that you're spending meditating. Focus more on the intensity of your meditation and things that contribute towards the increase of your intensity. And when you can do these things, which will impact the intensity of the meditation, you'll find that the meditation naturally improves. When the meditation is a bit better throughout the day, your thoughts will tend to be a bit less. You'll have more conscious awareness. You'll be more present. That will also impact your meditation. And you'll find that this all kind of creates this snowball effect where you generally are moving in a good direction, both in your everyday life and what's going on within your meditation practice. So I hope that video has been helpful for you today. As I mentioned at the start, feel free to check out my school. It's called the Inner Journey School. Links in the description. Failing that, I'll see you in the next video. Thanks a lot.